At Project Hack 17, we've chosen to complete Challenge 14, Risk Management Insight. We're Retention Risk, 3 members of the Project Analytics Data Apprenticeship who came together to try and complete this risk management challenge. As we have a background in risk management, we thought we'd be ideally suited to answer the questions posed to us.
As a first step in this task, we studied the pain points to start developing ideas. Unfortunately, due to the time, data provided, and our current skill level, we could only focus on providing the ability to learn lessons from historical data and minimizing the time spent to produce risks from existing risks. We selected these as this is where we felt we could accomplish the most with the data. Learning lessons from historical data. Our approach. Each risk was manually categorized using the following categories. I went through and analyzed each of the risks using the data and went through each of the categories, identifying which risk was which type. We then used this to analyze the data and present it in a Power BI dashboard after comparing it with the other methods of reviewing the data.
We used all the information we gathered to present some of the historic data in a Power BI dashboard, looking at the risks by current rating and the risks by forecast rating. You can see here that we've got a trend from the significant risks, which were red and pink, to more towards the yellow and green in the forecast. Unfortunately, the probability impact diagram we had meant we couldn't give more empirical data. We also looked at the risks by current impact, and you can see that very high and high have a significant amount of the risks. We looked at what had closed the risks. So the risks that were closed impacted actually had statuses of very low. So this, impacts of very low, and therefore these were less likely to cause significant issues to the project. Whereas the transferred risks were also in high, as were the treated risks. Following Alex's analysis of each risk by risk type, we produced this dashboard, which shows that the most significant amount of risks were from cost and schedule. We also had a look at the risks types by closure criteria, and you can see that those transferred were significant schedule and cost risks, that those treated were also cost and schedule. So we don't yet have machine learning as a skill in our database. We use wordcloud.com to identify the frequency of the words in the risk title, the risk description, and the consequence, which gave us a count of the words which were most frequent. A mapping exercise to group the words together in categories was tabulated. These tables were then used to create data filters for the header words. This was used in Power BI, and these risks could then be downloaded to start populating a new risk register.
Using the output of the risk type database, we utilized various functions in Power Query to analyze the wording in the historical risk description and consequence. One of the outputs of this analysis was looking at how many times the words under each type header appeared in the language of the description and consequence of each risk. This dashboard uses this output to enable the user to search through the historical risk register for risks in each risk type dependent on the strength, as seen here with cost. As seen here, multiple risks have a high cost analysis, showing that this is a focus area moving forward. In this format, however, you are also able to search under multiple risk types, for example, looking at cost and environment, when the following risk comes up. And as you can see, this one is a yellow rating, which we believe we should be looking at. The value add of this page of the dashboard is the ease at which an individual can search through their historical risks by type and having the ability to export that output by using this function over here, export data. This output reduces the amount of time for risk managers, as it can provide the baseline for populating a new risk register for similar projects and provide insights into the relevant risks.
We've already acknowledged that we don't quite have the skills required to do everything we wanted to do, and we haven't quite had the time either. But we have come up with some additional features which we would add to develop the solution with more time. So the first one is using natural language processing to provide an easier user interface for the analysis and searching of risks. It would also allow the table to be added to, so we could get more and more refined data, which would be more and more accurate the greater the data set. We'd also allow it to be searchable using a Power App, really improving the user interface for everyone. And we'd also use Power Automate to send messages to the risk owners and risk action owners to ensure they were completing their action on time, and therefore making their jobs easier, especially for the risk managers who wouldn't have to dedicate so much time.
Looking at question 2, how would your solution release capacity from the risk management team? We identified that by using the searching word solution, team members would be able to find particular queries in risks. This would allow them to identify esoteric risks that they could then look up, which may be in legacy data. It would also allow them to identify large-scale risks, things that occur regularly, like cost, scheduling, or time, those sorts of areas, and then identify the key areas that their team should be focusing their teamwork on. This will make it more efficient for them, as they'll be able to focus their team to only specific risk areas that they need to be looking at. It also helps provide insight into historical risks and allows those to be considered in a more modern time frame.
For question 3, how have we developed the risk catalogue and learned from historical risks? We have further developed the risk catalogue by the creation of the risk type database, which we have used to analyse the language of the description and the consequence of the original data and outputted more information. This has allowed us to learn further and gain more insight into historical risks. However, more insight could be provided with the provision of PID data and actions. Further insights into the historical risks were learned via the Power BI slides that we have talked through earlier.